Hi, I'm Tatiana from Effortless Reality, and for those of you who know me, I maintain the website Traveler's Guide to Healing with free resources on the energy practice of Jinshinjutsu and astrology. Astrology, the way I practice it, and astrology, the way I have researched and validated for myself. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the sun and how it relates to our brand. Now, if you're a person who doesn't have a business or is not developing a product, you might say, well, I don't need a brand. But think a little bit. Brand in its most broad meaning means your reputation, what other people see when you're not in the room, how they perceive you, what they think of you, and how your whole public image is. And so in that sense, we all have brands, whether you use the brand or not, whether you are aware of it or not. And as someone just last night pointed out aptly to me, is that if you don't take conscious control or become aware of your brand, you're risking of other people dictating your brand. So why not? So here it is. The sun in the astrological chart is the symbol that most closely can be mapped to the idea of branding. And the reason is because the sun is the point around which it's your central core of beliefs and principles around which you actually structure and organize your life. The sun might not be the most immediately visible, but the sun is there. It's that integral principle that makes all energies actually express in your life in coherent manner. When the principle is strong and when you have retained connection, very strong connection to that guiding principle of your life, you are strong in your heart. That's what people say. You're strong in your beliefs. You know who you are. You're not easily swayed. People cannot manipulate you. You can watch the news and you can actually sense what is good for you and what is not for you, and you'll never be swayed to do something against your principles. So it's very important for us to understand what the sun stands for. But in that sense, the sun also dictates everything, what we do, how we do it, how we express it, how we present ourselves. And once we remove ourselves from that social setting, it remains as our imprint on the community. And that is how the sun is linked to your public visibility, to your career, to your reputation at work, but also in your neighborhood or in your church or in your jogging club or whatever you group you join. The sun will eventually, you show up, you continue to show up, and people are going to start connecting certain traits and qualities with you, and what they will be depend on your sun and how strongly and faithfully you express that sun. So let me give you a quick example. Today the sun is in Gemini. So let's say you are a person born with the sun in Gemini. Well, what does that mean? First, I like to start with looking at the elements. Gemini is an air element, so I know it's going to be something intellectual. It's not going to be earth or practical, like Taurus or Virgo. It's not going to be all fiery and inspiring. Intellectual energy is also relational energy, so it's going to be connected with people. Fire can inspire others, but fire is kind of like, this is me and I'm constantly running, and if you follow, it's up to you. If you don't follow, I'm not gonna cry. But the air element needs that interaction. With Gemini, that tends to be a little bit more intellectual, so the interaction could be or relationship could be to principles and learning new concepts, learning stories, listening to people, seeing, observing the people, and just communicating back the stories. But when you move to, let's say, to Libra, then it becomes very closely related to human interaction. This is where the Libra likes to get along with people, likes to make peace, can actually reconcile the two sides of an issue. So Libras are very good in making that peace and figuring out how to make a compromise and get things work. The other air element is the Aquarius here in the 6th house of the chart, and Aquarius is visionary. So again, it brings the intellectual aspect to a higher visionary scale where it wants to perhaps make peace between different groups. That's why Aquarius could be the diplomat, but it also pushes always for improvement of humanity, of human conditions. So this is where you get the experimentation and innovation aspect of Aquarius. So you find your sun in an air element, and you know it has to be something social. It has to be something for betterment of people. It has to be around people and ideas. Specifically Gemini, that could actually be ideas. You might as well end up in some lonely office in academia, but even there you connect with ideas of other people, so you're always aware of that. You're learning and then communicating back. And I don't want you to just go and find what the sun is in Gemini is and say that this is my brand. This is just the beginning, the opening of what your brand can be and how it can express most easily. Because remember, we're building an effortless reality here. I don't want to give you something that brings more effort to your life. But if you become more aware of that sun in solar energy, you can actually ask yourself, well, that is the most harmonious, so that is the easiest, the most effortless way of me to express. So why fight against the tide when I can go this way? And people will naturally fall. It's like, oh yeah, the person who communicates well, they're democratic, they're very accepting, understanding. If someone needs to tell the story, let's give that person to tell the story. But this is just the beginning, because then you can actually go and add more. Like, for instance, today we have Uranus, and Uranus is very close to the sun. So those two points are going to be blended in someone's chart if you find this configuration. And Uranus is the focus of innovation. So you can say, okay, I'm Gemini. My brand is to communicate ideas to people. They might not be my ideas, but I can communicate them very well, and I can connect across different ideas and extract or distill what matters. So that's the unique gift of Gemini. But Uranus is going to say, let's do something original. Let's do something that breaks the status quo and innovates. So, and you'll never be able to distinguish how much that is the sun and how much is Uranus. But you don't have to. You just call it your brand and continue expanding your awareness of what your most natural brand is. And then you look through the sky and you say, okay, I have Mars into Taurus and I have Neptune in Aries. They are very close to that 0-1. So they will resonate here with the branding focus and what kind of gifts they bring and I can bring into the fold of my brand. Well, Aries could be very inspirational, but in Aries will bring steadiness. So Mars could give that steady, solid, persistent expression through words. Mars is a lot about expression. Mercury is you can tell the story, but Mars is really the vocal choice of words, being glib and impactful. Neptune is about inspiration, about spirituality, about where you're open to the knowledge that there's more to that meets the eye. And so you can see how your brand is going to be intuitive, or maybe inspiring, or maybe something into the alternative community. So there are many possibilities, but you're just bringing to the fold every new concept, every new symbol, and you expand and make your brand richer and richer. Now, here you can open up a little bit more your net, and you can see that the highest position in the sky right now was that's why it's marked as MC, midheaven, and it's 27 Taurus, only 4 degrees away from the sun. The sun has a very far reach. It can go 10 to the right and 10 to the left and still connect and lock in with some symbol. And so this is your comfort with visibility. This is the crown of your tree, if you think of yourself as a tree. And so this is what you happily show to the world, and they naturally see it. So you see, no matter what you do, and you could be at home and maybe retired or not have work, and still you'll find a way to be visible. Perhaps you'll be creating videos and posting them there and collecting a lot of followers. I don't know how it's going to play, but you see that a chart like that will almost ensure that is the path of the easiest effort, the effortless reality. So even if you resist, sooner or later, you will be kind of guided into that line. You can see also Pluto here in 5 Aquarius, making a trine aspect. That means 120 degrees with the sun or the cluster here, which is a very flowy, supporting aspect. And Pluto stands for power, control, truth. And so you can see that courage that easily can give you and support your brand to stand and show yourself. So you can actually add more and more, and then you can track and see what will happen. As far as tracking, I'll do moon, but that's a whole topic for another video. So I hope I gave you an idea and enough to get you started if you're interested in finding your own brand.